Shalom Aleichem. This is a tribute to Dr. Chaim Saul, known as Howard Saul. I met Chaim years ago in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He had a minyan in his basement because it was far for him to walk to the Chabad house. And he asked people to come and help make the minyan. And he asked me if I could be helpful. Particularly, I believe it was either one Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or both when I was there. And I want to tell you that he really was a very, very fine person. A mensch. He didn't have a bad word to say about anybody. And just a little background. The way he became a Baal Teshuvah was through Dr. Benjamin Rothstein of Baltimore. They were together at medical school in Iowa, and Benjamin had been frequenting the Chabad house that Rabbi Moshe Kasowitz had there. And slowly he invited Howard to join him. And he came once and he came twice and he had a good time. He didn't become religious at the time as Benjamin did. And but they stayed in touch. Benjamin told me he was always fun. He always had a trick up his sleeve, and he was very bright. Amongst bright students to be in medical school, you need to be bright and determined and everything else. He was like above that. But, with a humility, not, pompous, showing off. The time that I knew him in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, several things come to mind. One is, he was determined to have a minyan every Shabbos. So he got Bochum from the Morristown Yeshiva, and he got Bochum from Crown Heights, and he got others, some married people to come. And he said, if you have to come with your wife and your children, he had a nice size house, I'll put them up. And he put us up together with his dear wife, Gail. May she only have simchas from here on. And his two wonderful children. It was a real wonderful environment. I met there several other people, some of which I'm still in touch with today. And it was a real Hamish environment. There was always a kiddush, and then there was for lunch, and people stayed, and they didn't care how long you stayed. And here he was a top surgeon, oncologist surgeon, I believe, oncologist, gynecologist, both surgeon. He was very busy. I think he once told me that he covered like 20 or 28 hospitals in the greater New Jersey, South Jersey, and Philadelphia area. And I was always wondering, can you stay put in one hospital? And I found out the answer why he was all over. Because he had golden hands. He was a surgeon. He was blessed with golden hands. How do I know? He didn't tell me. On Yom Kippur, he invited one of his mentors in medicine. He was a former student at Torah Vodaas here in Brooklyn. And he was out there. And he came to a service. And Chaim Meir told me, this is my teacher, and, spend some time with him, talk with him, and I did. And then as I was saying, so what do you think about Chaim, what he's doing and who he is and everything else? He says, I want to tell you something. He has the best hands in the entire place. He has golden hands. like miracle hands for surgery. So therefore, everyone wanted to have this surgery. So he went from this hospital to that hospital. That's one of the things. Maybe there are other reasons. He moved to Florida recently, although he's from Miami, but he was away and he settled in New Jersey for his profession. He moved back because his daughter and grandchildren, husband live all in North Miami, I believe. He was a Yid that became like a instant Baal Tshuva overnight. Not at the time in Iowa State, but later, Dr. Rothstein told me they stayed in touch, and he invited him, I think, to an upshare. And Dr. Rothstein's one of his children had an upshare, cutting the ceremony, cutting the hair at 3 years old of a boy, and he didn't know anything about it. So, and he said, he came with Gail. And he said, "Oh, I'd like to have that for my son." He says, "Oh, really? Okay, but for that you need to have, a tallis. You take the child to the cheder." He says, "Get me a tallis." Well, he says, for that you come to shul, you put on tefillin. He says, "Get me tefillin." He says, "Well, okay. And your house, your mezuzahs. Get me mezuzahs for every door in my house." Instant, one after the other. Took upon himself all the mitzvahs. Like that. And when I met him, he was wearing a kapota with a full beard. And the frumkeit in the home, I remember, with the Shabbos and with the oven and with the stove and with him and Gail, how meticulous they were in the Shmira Shabbos and keeping the halacha. And whatever the rabbi said, no questions. It's not every day where you find someone who comes to Yiddishkeit as a Baal Teshuvah and takes it at face value, goes all the way, complete. So I just wanted to share a little bit about this special Yid. Telling you I heard that he passed away. It was like a knife in my heart. So young, 67 or so. So tragic. We don't understand. We don't know. But what we know is that what he left his family and the world and those that knew him is everlasting. And we need to continue doing mitzvahs for his neshama, giving tzedakah, and having that chesed and that kindness, how he welcomed everyone into the house, with regardless how many people, how long you stay. It was just a wonderful, upbeat environment, freilach and happiness, smiling. It was really wonderful. May he rise from the dust with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, the neshama of Chaim Meir Saul, Dr. Howard Saul. May his memory be a blessing. Amen.